I was the man in the moon when time was, Stefano said as he lorded over the primitive yet cunning islander Caliban in Shakespeare's The Tempest. After the characters were shipwrecked on an island inhabited only by Caliban and a tree spirit, Caliban meets the drunken duo of the starry-eyed butler Stefano and his jester friend Trincula. They were washed ashore on a beach and had found and enjoyed a butt of liquor, which had also landed nearby. Caliban, inspired by a fierce love of the island that his mother bred in him, plots to recruit Stefano and Trinculo to murder Prospero, who had enslaved him earlier in the play, to ultimately drive out the invaders of his paradise. Speaking of invasion, the big tech firms are building huge data centers across rural America. Amazon is doing it on 1,200 acres of farmland in Indiana. The Goldsboro Data Center will rise up over 1,000 acres in northeast Pennsylvania, and xAI is erecting a 285-acre AI supercomputing campus in Memphis. The more I read about this tech takeover, the more I feel like Caliban, watching my paradise invaded by unknown sophisticated masters that may one day treat us humans as simpletons like Stefano did to Caliban, or maybe even enslave us as Caliban was by Prospero. These AI data centers are absolutely massive and are popping up all over rural agriculture areas of the country as the AI spend rate reaches a frenetic pace. They require additional power infrastructure, including electrical substations and high voltage transmission lines, significant amounts of water for the processes, cooling equipment, and new mini nuclear power plants. And like your favorite beer company, they sometimes sell those by the six-pack. I start to imagine the computer world run of the Matrix revolutions when Neo finally goes up topside to see what the real world had become. Our stock market has become more dependent on the results of the mega-cap tech companies. As of October 21st, the Magnificent Seven stocks weigh more heavily than ever in the S&P 500. Their combined market cap is now $20.8 trillion out of the $56.9 trillion total market cap of the index, and that's good for 37%. Many of those mega-cap tech companies have just reported their earnings. Meta reported huge capital expenditures as the company prepares for superintelligence. Despite third quarter results that were strong, their stocks dropped 12% on the news of the capital outlay. Many of those mega-cap tech companies have just reported their earnings. Meta reported huge capital expenditures as the company aggressively prepares for superintelligence. Despite strong third quarter results, their stock dropped 12% on the news of the capital outlay. Increased spending projections took a chunk out of Microsoft stock, though much more measured, down at 2.3%. This reaction by market participants is a microcosm, really, of the problems of increasingly bloated valuations. Microsoft reported 40% growth in their Azure cloud business. 40%. And yet, because they disclosed a higher projected CapEx growth in 2026, they were dinged. Expectations for these firms are high, and many a 401k and IRA depend on them. So when all doesn't go exactly according to plan, there is some risk here for investors. All this happened, of course, within a couple of weeks that saw both Microsoft's Azure cloud and Amazon's AWS cloud puff away in a digital wind for a couple of hours. Now enter the narrative twist. I discovered an earthquake emanating out of San Francisco, reported by Reuters on Thursday, that will create tidal waves in the tech industry. Privately held AI juggernaut OpenAI is reportedly preparing an IPO that is projected to be valued at up to $1 trillion, which would count as the second largest in history after oil giant Saudi Aramco. Part of the reason for Microsoft's hit this morning may be a reason for a possible ascension in the stock price in the years to come. In its quarterly earnings call, Microsoft reported a $3.1 billion hit to its net income from its investment in OpenAI and clarified its relationship with OpenAI's new for-profit arm, as it was originally organized as a nonprofit. Here's the text straight from the CNBC article. On Tuesday, OpenAI announced it has completed its restructuring and formally outlined Microsoft's stake in the company. Under the new structure, OpenAI's nonprofit will hold a 26% stake in its for-profit arm, worth about $130 billion. Microsoft will hold a 27% stake, worth about $135 billion, and current and former employees and investors will own the remaining 47%. We've known for some time about Microsoft's involvement with OpenAI, but OpenAI could have remained private, and not until today did we know there were rumblings of it going public. It may never happen, but it sure looks increasingly likely as they open themselves up to more investment dollars. we're very sensitive to the risks that our clients are taking. And so there are certain markets that we are just unwilling to participate in as the risks are too high. One of those areas we won't tread is the private company space, where actual negotiations happen between buyer and seller. And another is the IPO space, where fortunes change very quickly as the sorting of businesses' value on the open market is so highly volatile at the beginning, and so often new buyers are left holding the bag with deep, deep losses. However, we found another way to take advantage of this news for our clients. And today, despite convening the other day, our WTA investment committee met quickly when the news came out. We investigated the source, agreed unanimously that Microsoft, with its 27% stake in OpenAI's for-profit arm, could potentially benefit quite a bit from OpenAI's emergence in the open waters of the stock market, and then moved to greatly increase the allocation in our WTA growth portfolio strategy from 3% all the way up to 8%. The casualty in this change is that our allocation to restaurant technology company Toast is now toast as it relates to our mainstream growth portfolio. Writing can be such a malleable thing as it's ever subject to the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Here I began with one idea about AI, suffering an unforeseen narrative twist as I wrote, and finished by reporting to you the climax and denouement that we are investing more into the growing space, even as seems the invasion of AI ramps across our beloved isle. But perhaps Shakespeare, through his volatile yet deep-hearted Caliban, can better express the dreams and hopes of a future peace with abundance. Be not afeard. The isle is full of noises, sounds, and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears, and sometimes voices that, if I had waked after long sleep, will make me sleep again. And then in dreaming, the clouds methought would open and show riches ready to drop upon me, that when I wake, I cried to dream again. So let me now explain today's literary infusion. My son Landon is trying out for the part of Caliban at his school, so we've been running these lines. If thou do but hear noises in the dark, and wish to hie to the high ground, to spy the path thou must takest to the wood, be not afeard. Cry out and hum about our ears. If you listen to us, we'll change your financial world.